Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News. I'm bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are the Times football correspondent Charlotte Duncan and the Sun's football reporter Jack Rosser. Welcome along to you both. We'll speak to you shortly. Let's quickly run you through the back pages as we have them. Back page of the Mirror. Raw courage. Linus's miracle comeback ends in a shootout triumph. Yes, England's defence of their Euros crown goes on, and driven man Rory McIlroy surviving an abysmal driving day to stay in the hunt for his home open at Royal Portrush. Telegraph front page of the sports section says this: that's proper England. Linus's win on penalties, but they put us through the ringer. Yes, they certainly did. And Rory's roller coaster, 5 birdies, 4 bogeys, but McIlroy still in open hunt. Back page of the Express looks like this. Yes, rough day for Rory, but still 3 shots off the lead at Royal Portrush. And Hampton, the hero for the Lionesses, made one brilliant save from Sophia Jakobsen in that shootout. Then moving on to the back page of the Star, Han of God. Yes, Hannah Hampton. And also Lifeline of Brian, £70 million bid revives Brian Mbomo's United dream. Well, the reason why this edition of Back Pages tonight is coming to you a little later than advertised is because we were all watching through our fingers and surviving, really, a penalty shootout that will not go down as a classic, Charlotte and Jack. But the fact is, England got through it and they're through to the final 4 of the Euros. Let's have a look at the back page of the Mirror, who say raw courage. Linus's miracle comeback ends in shootout triumph. My goodness. Charlotte, where do we start? Where do we start with this one? I mean, you know, talking about the grit, the determination, the pure heart that England showed to get through the 90, get back into it, and then all the injuries and everything, and then get through a pretty poor shootout, to be fair.
Yeah, it seemed like a game of 3 parts in it. The first half, England were absolutely atrocious. It's probably the worst maybe I've ever seen them in tournament football. They were absolutely terrible. They looked certain to go out 2-0 down. It wasn't until those changes that Serena Wiegman made in the 70th minute that obviously changed things in their favour. The substitutes had huge impact. England just looked a bit fresher, obviously got themselves back in the game. But then, yeah, the less we say about that penalty shootout, the better. The quality was absolutely atrocious. Some of the penalties were so bad. What on earth was the Sweden goalkeeper taking that 5th penalty when all they needed to do was score to go through, and she blazed it over the bar? But as entertainment goes, England have obviously made it through to the semi-finals, so they'll take it. And you're right, it was that grit and determination. There's been so much said going into this tournament about the lack of experience and how England are going to get over the line with this new young group of players. Lucy Bronze obviously stepped up, the most experienced player in the squad, to take that pivotal penalty, which ended up sending England through. But we saw Leah Williamson with an ankle problem. We saw Hannah Hampton there, the hero, with blood pouring out of her nose. They just did what they needed to get over the line in the end. And I think that's what they're going to have to the main positive to take from that is the grit, determination, passion to get over the line, and the ability to fight back. Because if they are going to lift the trophy, then they are going to have to play a lot better than they did in this game.
Yeah, that is absolutely fair. Let's look at the back page of the Star, Han of God. I mean, I'm getting little echoes here, Jack, of Terry Butcher, of Paul Ince. You know, Hannah Hampton there, stopping the nosebleed. And I have to say, that penalty save from Sophia Jakobsen, in particular, the little feather touch onto the post. I mean, this is a huge moment for her, isn't it, in her career?
It's massive, you know. It's 2 goalkeepers that there was a lot of talk around their first tournaments as the first choice for both of their nations, and even just throughout that penalty shootout, it looked like one was going to come out the hero, then the other, and then it flipped back the other way. And there's been a lot of talk around Hannah Hampton going into this. Obviously, Mary Earps withdrawing herself from contention before the start of the competition created an awful lot of noise before they even flew out to Switzerland. And then there's also been question marks over Hannah Hampton's distribution and praising it, criticising it, a lot of talk around that. So then to go in this high pressure situation, probably the most pressurised situation she's ever faced in her career, in the spotlight of a international tournament, to go and stand up, see the knocks, see it slipping away, and then come back in is absolutely fantastic. And it will do wonders for her confidence to sort of stand tall and know she's the number 1 for England has delivered a performance like that. But there were so many individual moments. Charlotte mentioned it. Lucy Bronze, fighting through pain, strapping up her knee, going through and then blasting that when everyone around us sort of rolling the ball towards the goal and making it not easy, but fairly straightforward. Some of the saves for the goalkeepers, some really, really horrific penalties that you'd almost be embarrassed to win that shootout, but you've done it, so that's great. You're through. Lucy Bronze to come up, show everyone how it's done and smash it through is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, the 3 penalties out of the 7 that England scored were all very good penalties. Alessia Russo's inside of the side netting, as you mentioned, Lucy Bronze's, into the roof of the net, and also Chloe Kelly, just that calmness, and she really needed to exhibit that. And speaking of Chloe Kelly, she came on and really changed the game, didn't she, Charlotte? When England looked like they were down and out, 12 minutes to go, still 2-0 down. Comeback Queens is the headline in the I paper. I just sort of wonder, out of the players that came on, who do you think might just have a chance of convincing Sarina Wiegman they deserve a place in the starting 11 against Italy next Tuesday?
I think if we're looking at the first half performance, I think England struggled most defensively. I think also in midfield, the balance just looked off. I can understand why Sarina Wiegman stuck with the same team that she did. If we discount that first game performance, obviously they weren't very good in that. The next 2 games, England performed really well. I understand why she stuck with it. But you're right, someone like Chloe Kelly, the impact that she had coming off the bench, she played a massive part in 2 of them goals. She got the assist for the first one, and she was pivotal in setting up the second as well. So there's a few of them there that have given Sarina Wiegman decisions to make. You've obviously got the young 17-year-old who came on and scored as well. What an experience for her. She'd only made 1 appearance for England before coming to this competition, and she's come on and scored off the bench. So I think there's a few big decisions to be made there. I think the balance definitely needs to be looked at in defence, because England were being torn apart, and especially in the first half. Sweden were just finding it so easy to get in behind. They just looked really slow at the back. So there's lots of things for Sarina Wiegman to think about. I do actually think the test that awaits them in the semi-final won't be as difficult as the one that they face tonight against Sweden, but that's not saying that Italy are going to roll over it and give England a pass straight through to the final. So lots of difficult decisions for Sarina Wiegman to make, but also it's important, as we've seen already in this tournament, the clickers, as they called themselves, that little group that they have on the bench, the finishers, the impact that they can make. And Sweden had said before the game that they thought it meant that the England group was maybe disjointed because they had the finishers group in one WhatsApp group and maybe the starters in a different group. But look at the impact that they had. They can change the game. So maybe Sarina Wiegman will look at it in that way and see she's got reinforcements off the bench that can make a huge, huge impact. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how she decides to line up in the next game.
Yeah, and also, Jack, it's interesting to see how they manage the next few days with a few niggles there. We saw Lauren James hobbling a little bit in extra time. Do you think that, Sarina Wiegman, in terms of her experience in major tournaments, remember, there's the 6th straight time England made semis in a major tournament, and a lot of them have been under Wiegman, that she can kind of find the right tone, the right way to handle this group of players now ahead of the real opportunity next Tuesday against Italy, as Charlotte was saying?
You would think so, wouldn't you? Because, again, there was criticism of Wiegman for that before, almost she'd become too frank with some of these players, and that's where their downfall might be this time. But she and England, the Lionesses, have got an incredible track record of being able to manage knockout football. It's unlike anything else you experience throughout your career as a player, knockout games at an international tournament. And they've learned how to deal with those ups and downs and those bumps. This is a younger group, so there's going to be a few players that will have to carry them through that and convince them that they're doing the right thing each day. But it feels like they've learned bits and pieces from each game, and they need to do that from tonight as well. The France defeat early on was maybe a bit of a wake-up call, and there was some wobbles and nerves after that game. But the 2 victories since then against Wales and the Netherlands, even though they were 2 fairly poor sides, lifted that confidence, changed the vibe. From reading the reporting, it changed the vibe in the camp, and they've taken that through. And Leah Williamson's been talking tonight just about the pride of keeping that character, keeping that fighting spirit together. And I think really that's the key for them to keep going, almost to just have a level of confidence, calm and excitement for these games and determination more than managing the fitness when it comes to these sort of things.
Well, we'll see what happens over the next few days, but the fact is England did it. They got over the line. They're into the semi-finals. OK, let's move on to some transfer news. In your paper, Charlotte, United bid 70 million for Mboma. Now, look, he's not agitated for this move, but United have carried on upping the bids. This is the third one. Will it get done?
I hope so, because then we won't have to talk about it on the show anymore. I feel like every single time I come on, we're talking about whether the bid's going to get accepted, rejected, whether they're going to come back with an improved bid. I think the understanding all around is that this should and will hopefully be enough for United to get the player that I think that initial bid that we were talking about was about 6 weeks ago now. So they've obviously upped it a lot from that. That was initial 55 million. It's gone up to 70 million now. Ruben Amorim on his post-season tour said obviously he had an idea of what he wanted his squad to look like heading into pre-season. I doubt it's what he's got at the minute, obviously only with Mateus Cunha through the door and those 5 players who are training separately. So the squad fly out next Tuesday for their pre-season tour of America. They've got their first pre-season friendly on Saturday. So if this deal does get agreed, maybe in the next 24 to 48 hours, it's good timing because it means obviously he's got another player through the door that he can take to America, that he can start moulding to his tactics. And he's another one to integrate into the group and to bring more attacking threat to that team that really struggled to score goals in the Premier League last season.
And in your paper, Jack, back page of The Sun, if at first you don't succeed, try Bry again. Nicely done. I mean, let's just have a look at the Brentford side of this because they've held out. They've been, very robust in their positioning. Looks like they're going to get the money they want. So how well have they played this? And also, do you think this means that essentially Mboma goes, maybe they try and keep Wissa at the club?
I think that's definitely the idea. Brentford have been quite impressive throughout all of this because they've obviously lost their manager, they lost their captain, Christian Norgard, to Arsenal. And it just feels like everyone was coming in trying to pick bits and pieces out of Brentford. But when they unveiled Keith Andrews, a group of us went down to meet him and do his first press conference, and Phil Giles was alongside him and gave off a real air of relaxation around anything. Just sort of, we've lost 2 people at the moment. I'm sure we can get through this. 70 million as a package will be a huge fee for Brian Mbeumo for such a cheap signing when he came and joined them in the Championship. He's done so much for that club and will, of course, be a huge loss. But they've shown over the years that they can cope with losing significant players. They've lost Ollie Watkins, Said Benrahma, Ivan Toney, Christian Eriksen, David Raya. All of these players have moved on and they've kept progressing as a club. Almost, not kicking on and kicking on and kicking on, but staying where they are, which for where they are is fantastic. I think the Wissa one, Newcastle will probably still try and test their nerve and see if they can get him out as well, even if Mbeumo goes. And if both of them want to go, then that might turn a bit messy towards the end and the relaxation might turn into a bit more panic down there. But at the moment, they seem fairly confident with the way they're handling it.
And in terms of what happens next, Charlotte, assuming this one does get done for United and Mbeumo in the building with, alongside Mateus Cunha, how important is it that they clear the decks a little bit? This I don't particularly like the phrase bomb squad, but those 5 players who are linked with the exits, that they do trim the squads for Ruben Amorim to work with going into the new season.
Yeah, it's absolutely pivotal, not only just because of the atmosphere around the place. Obviously, these players, they're coming into training after the other players have left. Nobody really expects them that they're going to go on the pre-season tour next week, so then they can have the full range of Carrington to carry on with their own pre-season training. But the difficulty they've got is that everyone knows that these players want to leave. Manchester United, in an ideal world, need to sell them. They want to generate the funds so they can put it back into the squad. So it's going to make the negotiating for the fees that Manchester United want a lot more difficult. So you're right in terms of it would help Ruben Amorim if these players could go sooner rather than later and Manchester United could get the fees that they desperately want for them. But if you're a buying club, why would you want to come straight in with that money that Manchester United want, knowing that these players want to go and Manchester United need to get rid of them? So for me, I can see it dragging on for quite a little bit longer until Manchester United come to some sort of compromise on the fees that they want to agree for these players. But the sooner rather than later will be better for the players as well, because they need to move on. They need to have pre-seasons with their new clubs. They need to embed there. They need to get fresh starts. So yeah, it'd be good for all parties, and especially for those 5 players that are involved in that situation at the moment. if there's a solution sooner rather than later. But it would not surprise me if we're still talking about some of them in a few weeks' time.
And I know you, for one, Charlotte, love the drama around Manchester United.
Yeah.
OK, we're going to take a quick break. Thank you for the moment, guys. When we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's newspapers, including this in the Express. Rough day for Rory. McIlroy survives driving woes. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. You're watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back to you at home. Welcome back to the Times football correspondent Charlotte Dunker and the Sun's football reporter Jack Rosser. Let's talk the Open at Royal Portrush and the back page of the Express, which carries the headline, Rough Day for Rory. McIlroy survives driving woes. I really like this quote, Jack, from our very own Paul McGill. He said, he's done OK today, but his driving has been abysmal. How can he hit only 2 fairways? McIlroy, though, still only 3 shots off the lead. It was a kind of funny kind of day and a typical Rory roller coaster, wasn't it?
He's absolutely infuriating at times, isn't he? Even this year, you know, you start with a couple of wins and then that incredible win at Augusta, and you think, right, what are the odds for him to win all 4 this year? Surely he's going to be flying along, and then completely dips down, stops talking to everyone, and then slowly picks his way back up. And then, again, going back to Portrush, I mean, a 70 today is so much better than the 79 he started with there back in 2019, but still, it's hard and brilliant to watch at times. In the front 9, he was scoring well, but playing fairly dreadfully. There was a bit of artistry in there, but off the tee, it was completely wild. He's clearly the best driver. I think the best driver of the ball golf's ever seen beyond Tiger Woods. But he can pull it off, and he still keeps going away. He obviously pulled it off the first tee. Again, not quite far as he did last time, and then just keeps digging it out. Thankfully, recovered well. You get the excitement when he's 3 under and 1 off the lead, but you speak to everyone and they sort of know, well, it's Rory, so something's going to happen, isn't it? And it did. But I think the way he recovered speaks to the sort of mentality he's in. He's in control of his game a bit more, and I think it's amazing what a strong finish to a round can do for the start the next day. If he can go out there and shoot something in the 60s, then he'll be in a fantastic place. And there's a lot of good stories from the first day already. You've got Matt Fitzpatrick up there in a tie for the lead, Lee Westwood coming back and qualifying the proper way and making a good start. So it's shaping up to be a very, very good Open again. Yeah, hopefully Rory is sleeping well tonight after, as you say, recovering towards the end of his round. Back page of the Mirror on this, Charlotte. Driven mad. Rory abysmal off the tee, but shows guts to stay in the hunt at his home course. I guess, how much of a factor is that? You know, he's come to Royal Portrush as Masters champion, having completed the career slam. So does he, to a certain point, think that he's maybe the pressure is slightly off? He can handle these kind of conditions and these kind of situations that bit better with all of that experience?
Possibly. Well, he'd come out and said, hadn't he, that he'd been struggling for motivation after that Masters win, but now he's ready to obviously go back home and win the Claret Jug. So he's got that determination. And you see some of the other interviews from some of the other golfers joking about the conditions. McIlroy knows exactly what it's like to play in those conditions, look at DeChambeau, admits he needs a lot of work to play on the links courses. So in that way, he has got the advantage. But I mean, it's credit to McIlroy, the second half, at the end of McIlroy's round, the fact that he birdied the 17th and came so close to doing it on the 18th as well. Like Jack said, that should give him confidence going into tomorrow, that he's 3 off the lead and he was so poor off the tee as well for the majority of his round, that he's that close to the lead after that. It should give him confidence, and it should ignite some fear into the rest of them, that he knows exactly how to win on these sorts of courses, and he's gone back home to his home ground, and that's what he wants to do, lift the Claret Jug. So he seems to have reset mentally. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can carry on the way that he finished his round, rather than the way we saw him drop off in the middle after the 10th.
Do you know what? It's 20 years since he actually went around this course in 61. Do you know how old he was then? He was 16 years of age. I mean, he needs to just channel his inner teenager, Rory, and maybe he can get back into the hunt. Let's get back to some transfer stories. Back page of the Eye, Liverpool close in on £70 million Ekitike. So Hugo Ekitike, Eintracht Frankfurt know that there's lots of suitors for him, particularly Newcastle as well. So Jack, do we sense we're approaching the end game of this one, that it seems likely that this deal will progress quickly?
Yeah, it feels like we are finally there now. It's gone a long way on this summer, hasn't it, with almost every big Premier League club having a look at one time or another. I think he even has said no to Manchester United in the last few days as well. And even at the start of the summer, he's clearly a terrific player. I saw him with the French under-21s against England earlier this season. But the price tag was the issue at the start of the window. There were too many clubs going 80 million, 86 million euros, I think is his release clause. And just sort of thinking maybe not for a 22-year-old at that point, he's just turned 23. But clubs are slowly, clearly starting to convince themselves because the money's going up. Newcastle bid just shy of 70 million. Liverpool have gone in above that, but hoping to get it in below his release clause. And it sounds like he's turned around to Frankfurt and told them, I want to go to Liverpool. He's ready to sign a 6-year deal there. So it feels like it's all driving towards him moving to Anfield now and getting that finally ended. Other clubs can move on. Newcastle obviously been in and out with this one and want to get another striker in to support Isak, hoping he stays. So it feels like we are nearly there now, yeah.
And in Jack's paper, Charlotte, back page, Saudis in cop snub for Isak. So, you know, as Jack just alluded to there, seems like this has gone to the very highest level for Alexander Isak to stay on Tyneside.
Well, yeah, he's absolutely key for them, isn't he? And they've made it clear from the start that they don't want to sell him. And as Jack's paper says there, it's gone right to the top. And the owners are saying he's not for sale. Obviously, if you speak to the owners of any football club, every single player that they've got on their books is for sale at some price. So I'm not sure I 100% believe it. But he is key to what they do. They've obviously got Champions League football. They want to keep that group together. They want to bring in more strength in depth rather than lose their best players. So, yeah, for now, they've resisted the resolve to sell him, and there's no reason to suggest that would change. But it'll be interesting to see, even if Liverpool do get the Ekitike deal over the line like we expect them to do, if they do go back in and really test Newcastle's nerve and go in with a huge bid for Isak. Maybe that's one not to rule out before the end of the window, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But Newcastle obviously sticking hard on their stance that he's not for sale, and that's been their stance throughout the whole of the summer, to be fair.
I've got just around a minute left, Charlotte. You managed to flag to us and spot an interesting story from Sam Wallace in the Telegraph involving Crystal Palace and what European club football they'll be playing next season.
Yeah, Sam's story there on the back page of the Telegraph says that they've been given a bit of hope with a leaked email that said basically their whole case is resting on that 1st of March deadline that they had to do for the multi-club ownership, and the problems obviously with Texter and selling and not being involved with Lyon as well. They hadn't done that by March the 1st. There was an email by a European Club Association that was apparently sent to clubs in October that said that wasn't a stringent deadline. So that's basically what Sam's piece is saying, that they're going to try and use that email to prove that it wasn't a stringent deadline and they've made the changes that they needed after that date. So maybe they're hoping that there can be some leeway on that. Obviously, they're going to CAS as well. So it's not the end of this story. We've not heard the end of it. Are they going to get back into the Europa League? I'm not too sure, but it's one that might rumble on for another few days at least.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, obviously, both Crystal Palace have the opportunity, if they want to take this to CAS, the highest appeal court in sport, the Court of Arbitration for Sports. As you say, probably likely to rumble on and on this one. We've run out of time. Charlotte and Jack, thank you so much for your company this evening. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon, I'm very sure of that. If you missed any of the show, another chance to see Back Pages tonight, hour. It's also available as a podcast, of course. Just download Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. Join us again Friday night. Our guests will be Mark Ogden and Ian Ladyman. And, of course, the big story this evening. My goodness, how did they do it? Who cares? England are through to the Euro semi-finals.